listening to Reset Race. You now tuned in to Reset Race. You're listening to Reset Race. You're now tuned in to Reset Race. What? Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Back on the grill again. We grilling them. You're listening to Reset Race. ADOS need reparations to make America great. You're tuned in to Reset Race. We no longer starving while others eat off our plate. No. You're listening to Reset Race. We focused on our justice claim. We know what is at stake. You're tuned in to Reset Race. You'll find out who really about justice and really who fake. Lineage go back to US Southern plantations. Lineage, Jim Crow and mass incarceration. Redlining lynchings. We are old from this nation. You're not about justice if you ain't for reparations. MG the wise one. Cousin mother intellectual. Samantha bringing fire. Anti-black we pressing you. No permanent friends and no permanent enemies. The backbone of the country to win. You need our energy. You gon' see. Listening to Reset Race. You now tuned in to Reset Race. You're listening to Reset Race. You're now tuned in to Reset Race. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Back on the grill again. We grilling them. You're listening to Reset Race. ADOS need reparations to make America great. You're tuned in to Reset Race. We no longer starving while others eat off our plate. No. You're listening to Reset Race. We focused on our justice claim. We know what is at stake. You're tuned in to Reset Race. You'll find out who really about justice and really who fake.
Policy, the more it kind of seems like it's about making affluent white people feel good about themselves and about the elite institutions and environments that they inhabit, much more so than it really is a project of justice. Look, obviously the largest and most powerful program of affirmative action is for the rich, whose parents can afford to dole out big donations to top-level schools and benefit from a privileged legacy status, not to mention who grow up with the tutors and resources and counselors to get them into those schools to begin with. But that elite experience would be so much less enjoyable if you were truly faced with how completely exclusive the elite training pipeline really is, and how much more it has to do with your parents' bank account than it does with little Johnny's great promise. So diversity has been sold to affluent whites, not really as a project with the end goal of justice, although the trappings of that are nice and make them feel really good, but as a sort of lifestyle brand. And diversity has also been sold on a strictly transactional level too, as something that is actively beneficial to you and your kid. And that matters. Here's why. In the podcast Nice White Parents, they tracked the multi-decade history of one New York City public school, and it was actually kind of remarkable. White parents in the 60s were sold diversity exactly this way as a transaction good for them and their kids, and they lobbied aggressively for the local school board to locate this new public school in a zone right between the white neighborhood and the black neighborhood so that their kids might attend a diverse school.
There you go.
Once the school opened, however, none of the white families actually showed up. Why? Because when they were faced with the reality that the black students had been suffering through substandard, unfunded schools and were invested behind the white kids, and they realized that diversity could impose some cost on their own children, then they were out. Their relationship to diversity was purely transactional, and the second they felt they weren't getting a good deal, they were gone. Affirmative action is the type of program that poses little.
So what she's making the argument for affirmative action with this, right? Because diversity is going to have to be forced, especially when it comes to us, because they don't want us around. They've been trained over the centuries that we are a contagion of wealth, as Yvette and Tone would say, right? We are the problem, not the society that imposes a cost for having us around, but we are the problem, right? So it has to be forced. She's making the argument for us, but she doesn't see it that way. She thinks she's making a counter argument. Anybody got anything on that?
Yeah, she's definitely using diversity as a dog whistle. Yeah, like the whole thing where it's funny how she went from one segment where she was blaming the progressive white people for wanting affirmative action, being the only people that want this thing. And now in this one, she's showing how progressives can truly be, racist, and be hypocrites. And like, it's funny to me how like like they want to flip it on this instance though, and make it about the diversity being sold to them. Like like it's an interesting way to how they frame these arguments to like convince people like that it's like to hide the racism and also to kind of shift the blame into weird ways where it's not really clear what exactly is the problem. And
Absolutely.
it's very interesting how how they're able to get away with this bullshit.
Exactly. John, I'm sorry, Bud, you done?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Appreciate it. John, go ahead.
Yeah, again, man, Crystal Ball, man. It's Crystal Adrian is, oh Lord, Jesus Christ, man. I know she a daughter. I know one of her ancestors probably owned at least 3 slaves. I already know she was a white woman that had at least 3 slaves, man. Because
Maybe we should call her Judy Garland.
Word up, Judy. For real, like, yo, what she is doing and shit. Basically, what she's saying white liberals, because basically what she is trying to say is that the white centrists, the white liberals of today, with a woman back in the 1960s, they ain't what they, you feel me, that was fighting for diversity. Then when the black babies started coming to them schools, they was like, nah, no, that was y'all. No, the white progressives of today, that was the white woman in that's y'all. You feel me? Like, because it was white centrists back then that you feel me? Like, that is who you, that's the line y'all come from, you white fucking progressives. That's y'all. Krystal Ball, you don't want no black babies in your school. That's why. You feel me? Like, real shit, man. So all this, man, yo.
She actually used the language we imposed the cost on them.
Yep. Yo, that was the straight Fox. Yo, I'm like, is this Fox News? What the fuck is this shit? Like, yo, this shit, man, I'm done. I don't got nothing else to say, brother.
And the gag is, right, because this is what these people don't understand. And this goes for Krystal and the brown-faced white supremacist Sagar, which again, what is your caste? What is your caste? Because if you're a Brahmin, you can really okay, better. Okay, so but but I'm irritated. I'm so irritated. Like, I'm tired of these people. You guys are playing games. The way you talk about us, we watch all of you, and the main reason why we stopped watching you guys is because we realize that you guys are anti-black racist. Krystal, Sagar, fucking Kyle, like, all of y'all be showing us that y'all are anti-black racist. So a lot of us get turned off and really don't watch you like that. Like, every now and again when I retweet the Hill clip where they actually say something like a piece that I thought was interesting, you know what people get in my timeline? Oh yeah, I used to watch them until I realized that they was anti-black. So y'all lose all kinds of people because of the fact that y'all are anti-black. So just the thing about it is, and then even with like the guy who was in our comments, and he was respectful for the first video where he's talking about talk about Kyle. He's like, he's not an anti-black racist. No, he is. The thing about it is, white people, you don't get to tell us what's racist or not, what's anti-black racism or not. You don't know, because you guys perpetuate it. Not all, but a lot of y'all perpetuate that shit, and you don't even realize what you're doing. So what you need to do is listen to us so we can teach you how to train your ears for it. Because this basically, the fucking Democrats took over the fucking Southern strategy. For the most part, they just doing it smarter. Like, white supremacy always adapts.
Yep, absolutely. Go ahead, Bud. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the perfect sign of it is how she was trying to tie the legacy thing in just with class. Like, that shit goes back to segregation. Like, that shit goes back to when we were locked out of, any opportunity, which is kind of why affirmative action is something that's in the schools, so that we can actually compete on that level. So, yeah, it's like, yeah, it's just they're using class to hurt black people. That's all they're doing.
That's it. We ready?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Threat and only benefits to affluent white liberals. It's the college admissions version of identity politics, more about getting brown faces in high places to make white people feel good than it is about actually addressing the very real problems that it seeks to ameliorate. It's almost axiomatic that any policy supported overwhelmingly by brunch liberals is unlikely to really forge any structural change or justice. But
go ahead.
This is just real quick. You see that she said brown faces. She didn't say black faces, to get brown faces in high places. Like, we're completely out that equation now.
Yeah, no black and brown, not minority, just brown.
Yeah.
And then the brown faces be your Saugers, like Bobby Jindal, and what's the other one? Nikki Haley. The Confederate flag isn't racist. It's just their heritage.
Yeah, you got Kamala Harris, and then you got Ziggy Zaid, whatever that dude is, that with Matt Brunel. You got all these motherfuckers, man. Shit, wow.
And we got to remember now, it's something that that folks need to take a look at. Take a look at all these organizations that you like to follow. DSA, who else? DSA, Justice Democrats. Take a look at their structure. There are no outspoken black people in leadership. None. We're facing economic extinction in 2053. And you don't have any outspoken black people talking about reparations for black people, right? And what does that?
And that was before COVID.
That was exactly. That was before COVID. Now, if nobody's, I just told you about ethnic cleansing. It's clear, right? And if you read my writing, there's a whole lot of other stuff we need to talk about, but we'll go into that later. But if nobody's ringing the alarm bells about what's happening to descendants of slaves here in this country and the organization you're in, guess what? You're an anti-black racist organization. Sorry, it is what it is. It is what it is. And you, if you're a righteous person to listen to the sound of my voice, you need to start challenging these people if you want to be part of an organization that's really doing some good. If not, go ahead, Sam.
No. I like how you said it. You need to start challenging these people, right? Mm-hmm. So for those of you guys who are on this and you're like, damn, they're right. Like, this is anti-black racism. Like, it's time, like Ernie Chambers says, it's up to you to talk to your family and your brothers and sisters and let people know in your circles that's not okay. Because as I always like to use other groups, but nobody would be allowed to talk about gays like this. Like when she was like, oh, it'd be like if straight people were the ones pushing gay marriage. Mm-hmm. First of all, that wasn't the case. And second of all, for you to could you imagine if people were voting? Well, we do. I don't like how we vote on a lot of this shit anyways. Like certain things shouldn't be voted on. Like affirmative action shouldn't be a vote. Like, period. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Go ahead, y'all, because we ain't even got to Saga yet. That's gonna take forever once we get there. Y'all got anything else for her? Or for this?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah, nah, sis. Nah, I got something for her, man. Like the thing about it, affirmative action is one of the people don't really understand what reparations is. Like they just think it's money. The progressives, even after all the ADOS, all the work that the ADOS done did, and American Descendants of Slavery, and all the people fighting for reparations done did, and all the information that's out there, they still think it's just giving black people money, but they don't understand that not black people, American Descendants of Slavery. Let me clear that shit up, nigga. You from Nigeria, you ain't getting nothing, nigga. You ain't getting a damn crime. All right, no, I don't know. You ain't getting nothing. But anyway, basically what I'm saying, affirmative action is one of those strong set-asides that has to be in place on top of the reparations because of all the years and years and years we've been being locked out of opportunities, locked up, you know what I'm saying, locked in the community, just locked. They just kept locking us. So this is what the capital that's going to come to us through reparations on top of the affirmative action is what's really going to start changing the motherfucking society. But the fact that she's just so gun-ho fighting against black people, you feel me? ADOS people, American Descendants of Slavery people, that's what she's really talking about. She ain't talking about Saga. She ain't not talking about Saga when she talking about affirmative action. She not talking about Cenk Uygur. You feel me? Like how he came up. She not talking about them. She talking about us. You feel me? Like and trying to downplay, just trying to say like minorities and this and that. Like she really a devil. She really a devil. Don't worry, Sam gonna practice some hoodoo on your ass. Watch. Krystal Ball, watch. The ancestors got something for your ass. Just like Tales from the Hood. Remember Tales from the Hood? When all them little black slave dolls that woke up and then bit the shit out that nigga that's biting his ass and everything, stabbing him with little knives. Got something for your ass. All you anti-black lefties, man. Y'all hypocrites, man. Y'all hypocrites. Justice gonna come though. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Yeah, because this is a whole different generation, and we're gonna be teaching our kids to be fighters. So even if you get away with not giving us nothing this generation, you're gonna have to. There's gonna be a reckoning. Mm-hmm. There's gonna be a reckoning.
Whole new brand of Negro.
Yep. And we learning from our ancestors because our ancestors was telling us back then, and a lot of our people weren't listening to them. You know, the Fannie Lou Hamas and the so now we got to get out here and do what needs to be done to get this justice. Like I said, y'all should be glad that we aren't we aren't like y'all. Like, we just want, like that girl said when she was like, y'all should be glad that we don't want revenge. We just want equality. I want equity and a little bit more because of my family's contribution to this country. But that's about right. Yep. And speaking of that, you know, Instacart just got here with my plantation rum, y'all. My whole new bottle. I'm about to open this up and get ready for Sagar. Okay, y'all ready? Or is there anything else that y'all gotta say?
Go ahead, run it.
Let's look at the data anyway. So, affirmative action does, in fact, marginally improve Black and Latino admissions into elite universities. According to Matt Iglesias, after affirmative action was banned in California in the 90s, the number of Black students at UC Berkeley fell from 6 or 7% to just 3%, and Latinos make up only about 15% of Berkeley's freshman class, even though they are actually a majority of public school graduates in that state. So, by that metric, affirmative action is successful. But just getting more minorities into high-level colleges, that's not actually supposed to be the goal. The goal is supposed to be reducing the racial wealth and income gap. And on that metric, affirmative action has been a complete failure. In fact, after generations of racial preferences in college admissions process.
You gotta stop that.
Yeah.
Sorry, y'all. I was over here trying to hit the button like, oh my God. No, when I first heard this video, I was like, oh my God, go ahead, MG. Get her.
So,
get him, big bro. Get him, big bro.
So she admits that the program is successful. Not perfect, but successful, right? It's supposed to be part of a larger scheme, right? We know that education doesn't close the wealth gap. We know that, right? But we're talking about the opportunity to do better for your family in this generation or the current generation, whatever generation somebody's going through. So the amount of, and probably most likely we're talking about ADOS students that were going to these schools, cut in half.
So we don't know that those were ADOS students. They could have just been plain old Black. So we don't even know how many of them were ADOS. So she talked about 3%, 2% of them could have been first generation African immigrants, which, you know, again, it's not a problem with y'all, but if the only people who are getting any success or opportunity aren't the people who descend from slaves, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Like when Karen Bass
was designed for. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
let me, sorry, I hate to go on a tangent, but you know, every time I can throw some, every time I can piss on Karen Bass, I have to. So when we had that meeting with Karen Bass looked us dead in our face and said, we need to import more Africans from Africa because Black birth rates are low. First of all, most African immigrants do not marry Black Americans.
Nope.
There's a few, but the majority don't. They move into their own communities. They live with their own people. They tell their kids, don't bring home no akatas. And for you white people who don't know what akata means wild dog. They're talking about Black Americans who descend from slaves.
It mean nigger. It mean nigger. That's what it means.
It means wild dog.
My bad.
Yeah, with the hard ER, absolutely.
It's another version of it. Like I said in the last episode, every other race, every other group has a word for nigger except for us. Like we don't have names for Nigerians. We don't have names for anything. And even cracker, that shit comes from white people. That's not our original shit. That shit goes back to what is it, when they were indentured slavers? It's indentured servants, and like their necks would be burnt red, and then they would start to crack. That's where that shit come from. So even that shit ain't our shit. We have never come up with some shit to call y'all, but y'all got a name for us. So you want me to align with someone who looks at me as a wild animal? We got to bring in more of those people because our birth rates are low. How about you fight to get my people out of prison? You know why some of the birth rates are low? Because a lot of our men are in prison. So if you'd stop locking them up for nonviolent offenses, maybe there'd be more men to go around. So our birth rates wouldn't be low. But instead of you handling the problem, your first thing is just to import more people. That's a problem. That is a problem.
But like we talked about, we're facing genocide. Period.
We're facing genocide from all sides.
All the solutions these people are offering make it worse.
And if you guys don't know who Karen Bass is the head of the Congressional Black Caucus. So the people who are supposed to be fighting for ADOS are not fighting for ADOS. And she also told me reparations is not her issue, and it wouldn't be until we made it her issue. So I understand that she wasn't over HR 40, but how are you over the CBC and reparations isn't your issue? I have a serious problem with that woman.
We'll get to her too.
I don't even care about her. I'm
I
so
got-
over these people. Go ahead.
I can say, but the thing about it, but Sam, like, again, just right on point, especially with Karen Bass, she bugging. I would have left the room. I would have been like,
Man, let me
you
tell
out
you,
of control, lady.
I hit the snooze button. Like I literally, because we black, so we have a snooze button. When somebody says something stupid to you, you just because what was I gonna do? Jump over the table? Like
I would have.
Like that wouldn't have been like. So I just had to sit there and eat shit. I got to give it to Friday though. Friday did give a little pushback, and then Karen Bass tried to hit us with, "I feel like you guys are being xenophobic, bitch. You just told." No. Oh, excuse me, y'all. I didn't mean to call her that. Right. Woman,
you gonna beep it?
No. And I'm not gonna it out. I corrected myself, right? That's enough.
Yeah, that's enough. That's enough. Fuck it. We going there. Fuck it.
Yeah, I'm not taking that shit out. No. But for this woman to say that when we are like in a dire situation, like from every measure, Black Americans are failing. Americans who descend from slavery are failing. So for you to be like, oh, that is some bullshit. That basically you're saying we need to bring in more people to mask our failure. And this is what I mean by this. And a lot of people get upset when we talk about Africans and stuff, but I don't care what y'all think, because my best friend is a fucking first generation Ghanaian American. And I have real conversations with her. She believes that we should get reparations, and she doesn't believe that she should get reparations. And for those of y'all Africans who are mad that ADOS will get reparations and you won't get nothing, that's your fault, because you don't have an ADOS friend. Do you think I'm gonna get reparations and my friend not get no money? If not money, you think I'm not gonna start a business? Or shit, my friend got 2 fucking degrees. You think I'm not gonna ask her if she want to start a business? Okay. So even though she not gonna get a direct payment, she gonna get a payment. And if you had more ADOS friends, you would be in a different kind of situation, because we love to share the wealth. Wait till all of these ADOS people have reparations. We're going to be building co-ops and all kinds of businesses. And we're not going to be sitting there like, you're not ADOS. You can't be a part of this, because that's not how we roll. That's never how we've been. We love everybody. Like I said, the other one, it pains us. Fault. Yeah, it pains us right now to have to do this to y'all and pull y'all coats, but y'all aren't getting any better. And Baldwin's not here anymore to lecture you white people. So I got to keep bringing him back to you through his words and through his freaking things, because I'm not Baldwin. I strive to be, but that man was a genius. And that man went and sat in the rooms of white supremacy all the time and said what he had to say elegantly and never flinched.
Never flinched.
MG, you got something, bro?
Please go ahead. Yeah, please go ahead.
I was just gonna say, the thing is, it's like we already understand that yes, affirmative action is not going to solve the racial wealth gap, but it was also put in place because we were locked out of fucking higher education. They keep trying to hide that fact of it, and it's like, no, that was the reality. We were locked out for forever, damn near. And recently, we've been allowed to get to your universities, and it's like part of why affirmative action needs to be in place is exactly the stats that you showed. If we don't have affirmative action, a lot of Black people will be locked out. And that's even on the fact that it's not specific to us. Even as vague as it is now, we're locked out. So it's like you guys, you gotta be real about what the fuck is going on here.
You preaching.
Yeah, they're going to talk about wealth here right now, but for those of you who don't know the wealth numbers, right?
We about to show them to you.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, go ahead, Sam.
No, you can say what you're gonna say though. Go ahead and prep them. Go ahead and prep them.
The wealth numbers for Black folks. I mean, it's horrific. It's 10 times. White wealth is 10 times as much as Black wealth. We've been here the same amount of time, and a lot of y'all haven't been here as long as we have. All right, it's because, as Mud was saying, we've been locked out. We've been locked out, and for you to believe that that gap exists and nothing can be done about it, or nothing should be done about it, guess what? You're assuming that we can't catch up. You're assuming that we can't do it. You're assuming that we are incapable of catching up, or you don't care. Either one, we need help to close this gap. It can't be closed without government intervention, just like government intervened for white folks. The Homestead Act, the New
Mhm.
Deal, all this stuff, several Homestead Acts, not just one, several Homestead Acts that we were locked out of. Slavery itself, Jim Crow itself, that was affirmative action for white people. All right.
Bruh.
It is what it
And
is.
if y'all haven't read When Affirmative Action Was White, you bullshitting. Ira Cass Nelson, When Affirmative Action Was White, y'all.
Dig it up. Dig it up. All
The
right, that's all I
greatest
got, Sam.
insult that
Go
that
ahead,
is
Jack.
happening, the greatest
I mean, Bud, I'm sorry.
insult that is happening to us is like, yeah, the greatest insult that is happening to us is these Democrat politicians coming in our faces talking about redlining and then not having their next sentence be something about reparations. Like, how the fuck do you understand the concept of redlining and then you're not going to talk to me about a policy like reparations to actually make up for that shit?
That's it, because they're being they're being they're being on purpose. They're just being dishonest. At the end of the day, y'all might as well just say, like, I don't care about black people, and it is what it is. Like, I wish y'all would just be honest, but you don't want to be honest because if you told your audience, like, look, we really just don't care about black people. Yeah, you might keep some of your audience, but I have a feeling the majority of your audience, that would rub their spirit the wrong way. Because this thing about white people, y'all don't want to be racist. Y'all just kind of are. And the reason why you are is because this country trains everybody to be racist. Like, all people have to,
just like
everybody
they're doing
has
in this video.
Yeah,
They're training
everybody
people
has
to be racist.
And everybody has to learn how to get rid of anti-black racism, right? Like, shit, I grew up in the suburbs of white people. Like, I had to learn how to not, move around or squirm when a random black man walked up on me. You understand what I'm saying? Or something like that, because you were trained to be anti-black. So if me as a black person in America had to unlearn anti-black racism, what makes you above me? You white. You don't even live around black people. And I grew up with y'all and I got a problem. Well, I don't have a problem anymore, but I grew up with y'all and I had to unlearn shit. So let's quit pretending like we all don't have prejudices, biases, and like I said, some of y'all are racist, but some of y'all don't want to be. And if you don't want to be racist, then you have to start doing the work, because we all do the work. Again, I keep saying this, I'm gonna keep saying this all over. I actively seek to have intentional relationships with white women because my racism experiences, for the most part, have come at the hands of white women. So that gave me a prejudice. So I actively work to build intentional relationships with white women so I don't hate all white women. So we all have to do things to make sure that we don't become, well, for me, I just don't want to become the thing that I hate. Like, I don't want to be like a racist white person. So I go out of my way to try to find people so I can be like, yes, these are good people. Not saying that there aren't any good white people, but I say all the time, my godmother is white. I love her, but she was a little racist. Not to me, not to me personally, but some of the things she said, but she did, she didn't even, I don't think, like I say it all the time, I think if she heard this podcast, she would be hurt by that. And I hate to say that because she's a good person, and you don't understand, like, my godmother loves me to death. Like, fuck with me if you want to on her property, but she'll shoot that ass. So even a person who loves me and I would be in her presence wouldn't understand some of the stuff that she said was anti-black. You know what I mean? Even though it wasn't directed specifically at me, but it would be like at my people. Like I said, my godmother was a hardcore Rush Limbaugh fan in the 90s. Like, Rush was raw.
That's prime Rush.
I'm telling you. So this is the thing. Again, I guess I'm just saying, like, I know people were so angry about Robin DiAngelo's book, and they were like, oh, she's just saying that everybody's racist. Maybe not all of y'all, but 90% of y'all are racist. Like, you know what I mean? And y'all got to understand, racism is a spectrum, like autism. Like, racist doesn't mean like you gonna go and burn some crosses on people's lawns, or just go down the street shooting niggas, or do what happened to was it Ahmaud Arbery, where they was chasing him down. That is the extreme side of racism. The small side of racism is when you don't really want too many blacks to move in your neighborhood because you don't want your neighborhood to be unsafe. Or you understand, like,
think it's going to be unsafe. Yeah.
Or you don't want a bunch of black and brown kids to come in your school because they're going to bring down the education value. So instead of saying, okay, if we're going to bring in these black and browns, how do we get more money into these schools and what programs can we give them? Or let's just say blacks, because that shit gets on my nerves. I'm sorry. But let's just say we want to get more black people into our schools and into these So remember, I live in LA, right? So here they have specific programs for Latinos, like people who are, who English is their second language. There's a lot of different programs, right? So if you can do that for Latinos, why can't you do that for black people? Like, you could literally set up programs to help black kids get where your kids need to be. And the thing about it is, in these affluent neighborhoods, these white people, on top of their property taxes, they put all kinds of money into these schools. These PTAs be fundraising millions of dollars. Like, it's a whole nother level. So if y'all would go and do some of that work for black people in, these black schools, or these minority schools, as you like to call them, but not come in and try to take over. Bring your money and close your mouth. That's what we need y'all to do sometimes. And I'm sorry that might be a little hurtful, but most of y'all, I need you to bring your money and close your mouth, because y'all got the money, but a lot of times y'all don't know what's going on. So you can't come in and try to tell people what's going on. You got to come in, bring the money, and let the browns and the blacks, but the blacks first, because you got to let us tell you what we need, and we'll tell you how we gonna spend that money to improve our children. But, sorry, that was long. Keep going, guys. I'm sorry.
No, they don't need to bring the money. They don't need to bring the money. They can just send it. They don't need to bring it. They don't need to tell them.
Word up, send that shit. We got Cash App, MoneyGram, all types of shit.
Mud did a kind of revision of Barack Obama.
Now than it was back in 1968. So the policy is not particularly effective. It's politically toxic and is rejected by voters everywhere and every time that it's tried. And it fuels racial resentment among the multiracial working class. But you shouldn't just...
Have you noticed every time you want to do something for black people, it's causing a dissension in the working class? So where is this book? Do I even have it out here? I think that shit's in my thing, but y'all need to read this. It's like Black labor history. It goes from slavery all the way to the 1980s. Listen, white people, we have tried to do working coalitions with y'all multiple times. You know what happens? You either A, ain't for it, or B, either you A, aren't for it, or B, you be like, oh, okay, and then y'all get the bag and run off with that shit and leave us in the dust. So we're not doing it your way anymore. You guys have shown that you guys are liars and that you can't be trusted. So we got to take the lead, because if not, like with the worker shit, John, can you say what you said the other day about like at the height of, what was it? I forgot what movement you said, at the height of, and King was marching. What did you call it? I'm sorry.
The height of the Civil Rights Movement. Yeah, the Great Society.
Say what you said. Say it again, though. Say it again for people who didn't catch it, because that wasn't on our recording, and that shit was so profound.
Oh yes, yeah. Sis, I'm a dumb. I ain't the most articulate one, but I got common sense.
That was articulate like a motherfucker. No, say it for them though, because I know what you said. Please say it for them.
For sure. So basically, what I'm saying is that the Civil Rights Movement, the Great Society is built on the back of the Civil Rights Movement. There is no Great Society. There is no expansion of Social Security benefits to people with disabilities. There's no raising the minimum wage 88 times and all whatever LBJ. He raised it like 10 times or some shit like that. There's no fucking Medicaid. There's no expansion of Medicare. There's no fucking Head Start program. All these things came on the back of the Civil Rights Movement, and at the same time, King was still marching for some extra tangible, some extra reparation shit on top of that. Even then, when the wealth gap is way closer than it is now. But the poverty still was extreme though. When you feel like the 1960s ghettos, that shit made Martin Luther King go to Chicago during the middle of the Great Society. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. So these lefties talking about some liberal this, liberal that. Y'all the liberals of yesteryear. Y'all not progressive, man.
No better.
Y'all not progressive at all, man. For real. And the ones that Malcolm X was like, yo, the white people that call themselves liberals, but the white people that was saying, them niggas, they didn't. The white allies Malcolm X was talking about was the ones that was like, you know what, give whatever nation of Islam they want so they could buy their land and do whatever the fuck they want to do. Just stay out their way. That's what Malcolm X was talking about, or just give them what they asking for. That's what he wasn't talking about, you feel me, a Hillary Clinton liberal. He was talking about you and the Hillary Clinton liberals and the conservatives. Talking about all of y'all. The Great Society was built on the back of the Civil Rights Movement, man. For real. So y'all not gonna have no other wealth redistribution until y'all finish the Civil Rights Movement and give us our shit. Give us what's owed to us. Give us what was stolen from us. So that's what I got to say.
Hey, this is MG from Reset Race. We're growing and so is our mission. Because of this, we're looking for volunteers to join our team. The skills we need most right now are researchers, video editors, and men and women to do voiceovers. If you're interested in helping out, go to actifypress.com/volunteer. Again, actifypress.com/volunteer. We hope to hear from you soon. Peace and justice from myself and the rest of the Reset Race crew.
Listening to Reset Race, you're now tuned in to Reset Race. You're listening to Reset Race, you're now tuned in to Reset Race. Put them back on the grill again, we grilling them. Put them back on the grill again, we grilling them. Put them back on the grill again, we grilling them. Back on the grill again, we grilling them. You're listening to Reset Race. ADOS need reparations to make America great. You're tuned in to Reset Race. We no longer starving while others eat off our plate. No. You're listening to Reset Race. We focused on our justice claim. We know what is at stake. You're tuned in to Reset Race. You'll find out who really about justice and really who fake. Lineage go back to US Southern plantations. Lineage, Jim Crow and mass incarceration. Redlining lynchings, we are old from this nation. You're not about justice if you ain't for reparations. MG the wise one, cousin mother intellectual. Samantha bringing fire, anti-black, we pressing you. No permanent friends and no permanent enemies. The backbone of the country, the win, you need our energy. You gon' see? Listening to Reset Race, you now tuned in to Reset Race. You're listening to Reset Race, you're now tuned in to Reset Race. Put them back on the grill again, we grilling them. Put them back on the grill again, we grilling them. Put them back on the grill again, we grilling them. Back on the grill again, we grilling them. You're listening to Reset Race. ADOS need reparations to make America great. You're tuned in to Reset Race. We no longer starving while others eat off our plate. No. You're listening to Reset Race. We focused on our justice claim. We know what is at stake. You're tuned in to Reset Race. You'll find out who really about justice and really who fake.
Until you do right by me, everything you think about is gonna crumble.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with, and this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.